To even do it, and they might have tried it for a period of time, and they sort of might be sort of in it where they don't want to be. Because you can't put everybody in the same bucket, right?
But that's sort of what happens in school.
Yeah, yep.
That is exactly what happens in school.
And 3 years for me. I got a long way to go. 3 years. Yeah. Give me 30 more years. Okay. I'll wait for you.
I understand. But I did call them and they said and they said resources then I would have just offered, I would offer money to those schools. I'm not going to offer money.
June 17th, 2026, Lowell School Committee meeting come to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of
flag
the United
of the
States of
United States of
America,
America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
which stands
one
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and
with liberty
justice for
and
all.
justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Lay? Miss Martin?
Here,
Miss McFadden?
Here.
Mr. Bahu?
Here.
Mr. Conway?
Here.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Here.
5 present, 2 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 3, special order of business, 3.1, spotlight on excellence, recognition of the 2025-2026 retirees. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and school committee members. We had the joy of having a little celebration before tonight's meeting with some retirees. We have 38 retirees this year with over 1,000 years of service to our community. And we are very, very grateful to these folks who have cared for and educated our youngsters so that they are now leading productive, happy lives. There's no more meaningful work than the work that these folks have done. Several of them are in our midst right now, and if you'll bear with me, I'll just give you I'll run through really quickly a quick flavor of it. Colleen Brown, teacher at the Merkland Elementary School, retiring after 35 years of service. Barbara Campbell, librarian at the Daly School, retiring after 25 years of service. Michael Cooney, special education teacher at the Morey School, 28 years of service. Sophia Crawford, paraprofessional at the Shaughnessy, 30 years. Kevin Gibson, special education teacher at the Butler Middle School, 4 years. Artie Gore, 28 years as a teacher, most recently at the Merkland Elementary School. Karen Jocelyn, 19 years as an administrative assistant at the Greenalge School. John King, 32 years as science teacher at the Wang Middle School. Shelley Marks, an ESL teacher for 32 years at the McAvenue School. Jacqueline Miller, 33 years as an art teacher, and she is at the Pine Arts School. Sandra Piantaghini, 34 years as a teacher at the Morey Elementary School. And finally, Mary Wood, who has been 21 years a computer teacher for Lowell Public Schools, and she's retiring from the Pine Arts Magnet School. Those members are with us, and I think they deserve our appreciation. Thank you very much to everyone. I did joke with one or two, and only a joke, that I would call them to the microphone, but these folks are very humble as teachers, and we are very grateful to them. Thank you to the school committee for honoring them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to congratulate everyone for being here and for all the years and dedication that you have given Lowell Public Schools and the kids in our school system. It's incredible. But I will tell you one thing, and I sat in those chairs one time. We were just talking about how many years. I had 37 years. But I will say that in September, when that comes up, you're kind of a little restless saying, am I supposed to be going somewhere right now? So it'll be like Pavlov's dog, so get ready for it. But again, congratulations. Great job. Great job.
Mr. Bahu.
Sure, and I'd like to just, reiterate what Mr. Conway said, but ultimately, thank you for all your years of service. People, speak about Lowell Public Schools all the time, and I don't know if anybody realizes the commitment that the teachers and the staff really have when it comes down to educating our children. And ultimately, you are the people that make the difference in all of our children's lives in the city of Lowell. And you know what it looks like, because I'm there. I see you in the restaurants, I see you in the supermarkets, I see you in the shopping centers, and the student will say, "Hey, Mrs. Brown, how are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. I remember you taught me." And you really are the ones that have embraced them and made a huge difference for them. And I just want to thank you for all the years of service and for everything that you've done to realistically mold our city's children.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. Ms. McFadden.
I chaperoned a field trip to the aquarium last week, and I needed a nap after. So kudos for all your years of service. Thank you so much for all that you do. It is a gift and a blessing for our children, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden. Mr. Lay.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just want to echo what my colleague has said, that every year we see students success, they go on to done great things, and you have helped them along the way. And I just want to say thank you for all the service that you have done. Thank you. Happy retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. On behalf of the Lowell City Council and the Lowell School Committee, I want to thank you. You are the engine that makes our city run. It's your vision that gets instilled in the students that makes our city the place it is. And we can't thank you enough for everything you've done for all of them. You may not know it today, but we'll certainly see it in the future, all of your hard work and all of the students in the city when they start becoming doctors and firefighters and police officers. It's your vision that pushes them in that direction, and we can't thank you enough, from the custodian to the paraprofessional to the librarian to the art teacher to the full teachers to the administrators retiring. We just certainly want to thank you for everything you've done for our city. You'll never know what you've done until one day some kid mentions your name and thanks you for your hard work and those kind words, or that motivation that you gave them that day that they needed it. So thank you again, and we wish you the happiest and longest retirement ever. With that, we'll move on to 4 minutes. Motion to approve the special and regular scheduled Lowell School Committee meeting minutes of May 20th, 2026, and to place them on file by Mr. Bahu, seconded by Mr. Conway. Roll call.
Yeah. Mr. Lay,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Bahu,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Here.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes,
7 yeas.
thank you. 5, permission to enter. 5.1, permission to enter June 17th, 2026. Any questions on permission to enter?
Are there 2 minutes that we need to approve, Mr. Mayor?
They were just included, the May 20th in the May 20th, 26th school committee, regular and special meetings. They were just.
Oh, okay, it's both of
motion,
them.
right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 5, permission to enter. 5.1, permission to enter. Motion approved. The permission to enter by Member Lay, seconded by Member Bahu. Member Bahu, any questions?
Sure, I've got a question. It responds to the transportation for, our homeless students. I have, really been going through this for a bit. And right now, we're looking to approve an extra $165,000 in McKinney-Vento transportation costs for homeless children. And I understand it's something that we need to do. It's part of the policy. It's part of a federal mandate. I understand that. I guess, my first question, realistic, and what I do notice here is that, we are, in this particular permission to enter, we are busing 16 children out of Lowell to go to surrounding areas, and we're busing 3 children in from, surrounding areas, namely Worcester, to come to Lowell. So it seems like there's a real imparity there. Secondly, You know, so some of these schools are over in Boston. I see Roxbury, I see Hyde Park, I see Dorchester. You know, one school has a 8% proficiency rate in reading and 0% proficiency rate in math. Another one has a 20% proficiency rating, a 21% proficiency rating in Dorchester, as well as a 22% in math. I know that we can do better. I know that we can do better, and we would not have to put a student in a bus for hours on end. So, you know, to me, this is an issue, and I'm not sure that the parents know that they could get a really good product and not have to have their student in a school bus regularly. So I guess my first question about this, and I'm not sure who would answer this, is homeless students. I mean, is there a cap on how long that they can be homeless for if they're within the city of Lowell? Meaning, are they traveling to and from school, you know, for the first 2 or 3 months or 4 months, or is it sometimes going to a year or 2 years? Can somebody answer that question?
Mr. Bahu, there is no cap.
There is no cap.
That's correct.
Okay, so ultimately, you know, we're busing students, and how long is, for 2 years, 2-year students, do we have any idea of how long a student, that we have been busing them for 2 years or more?
If, in the case, there are two typical cases where this happens. One is for homeless students and the other is for special education outside placements. Special education out-of-district placements can be for several years. Homeless cases tend to resolve. The family finds housing or an agency helps them to find housing, but they can also go on for years. It's possible that a family could be homeless for several years, in which case they'd be, could be on transportation for that length of time.
And ultimately, do we call the parents to see if they have secure housing? And what does that look like when we call the parents?
We do, Mr. Bahu, and I'm going to call on Ms. Brown-Legrand to give a little bit more detailed response.
Sure. Our McKinney-Vento team is involved with students from the moment we're either notified either by the students or by another district that a family might be homeless. The first step kind of in the process is for them to actually meet with the families, going out to where they're potentially residing, particularly if it's a Lowell Public School students that, let's say, is being placed in Worcester, for example. And they go through the McKinney-Vento determination to see if they're actually coded appropriately and are actually homeless. They do give them their rights around what they're entitled to. They talk about, in the case of, let's say, being in Worcester, the downside potentially of being bused from Worcester almost an hour to Lowell or sometimes over an hour to Lowell, the limitations that come with that. It is ultimately a parent's decision, and generally most of the shelter placements inside Lowell and outside Lowell are considered short stay. So we're responsible until the parents have a fixed nighttime permanent residence, is kind of how the law is written. There are some catches. So, for example, if a student enrolls with us, I'll give you an example from, let's say, the South Shore, which would be over an hour. We would potentially be enrolling that student locally if they're living in Lowell. Let's say they're a Cape Cod, a student that would reside normally on Cape Cod, coming from Cape Cod, has been moved into a shelter site here in Lowell. The district in Cape Cod remains as the school of origin, which is a very specific term that the state uses, and it matters. That student enrolls with us, we now become the school of origin. If that student is then moved to a shelter site, let's say in Billerica, after they've enrolled with us, we remain responsible. If the student doesn't enroll with us, let's say it was a closer district, their school of origin, that district would be responsible. So the one problem we have is if a student enrolls locally, which some of them do, about 250 of them enrolled locally last year with us, for students that are outside the district that are far enough away that they've enrolled locally with us, we become responsible for every move for that student forward. So if that student that gets placed, let's say in Air, in a shelter, hypothetically, which is not that far from us, we're responsible still as the school of origin now. If that student accesses an out-of-district placement, we are now fiscally responsible for that out-of-district placement. If they had not enrolled locally, let's say it was a school closer to Boston than a Cape Cod district, once that student moves, the original district of origin remains fiscal responsibility for that student once they make a second move, which frequently happens with some of our homeless students. So we do when possible, and we have a number of students that enroll locally every year. There's another fiscal responsibility that kicks in once we become school of origin as well.
Sure. So the School of Origin somehow could work against us.
It could.
Because
Yep.
if they move to another location, if they're in a short stay place like
Yep.
the homeless shelter or
Right.
something like that. But once we become the School of Origin, we are responsible for all of their movements.
Yeah, until they obtain a permanent fixed nighttime residence, let's say either in Lowell or somewhere else.
But they could be like this for
They
years,
could be,
is what I'm
particularly if
hearing.
they're in the shelter system. Yes, they can be. So just to get back to kind of the process, our McKinney-Vento staff goes out. When they do the McKinney-Vento determination, they're getting proof of address. So they're getting invoice potentially from a hotel. They're getting a letter from the shelter site if they're enrolled. So we're verifying that they're actually staying there, that they're actually attending. They do that multiple times throughout the year. As we approach the end of the year, we've sent about letters to about 150 families that are no longer McKinney-Vento, meaning that their status has changed during the course of the year and that they will be expected to enroll elsewhere based on where they're currently living, because you can stay through the remainder of that school year, notifying them that their status has changed, the school year is up as of the last day of school. They're the responsibility of, and the district is typically filled in. We give them the information of how to roll in the other district, who to contact, how to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
And we physically go and visit them?
Yes.
This is not just a
Yes.
telephone call?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there is lots of telephone calls with the sending districts, though, in terms of, setting it up, identifying, particularly if it's a student that's not a Lowell Public School student, the information around that student that we might not necessarily have, what the status is, special education status, kind of other information that we don't have.
And how many of these students do we actually have? It sounds like we have 250.
McKinney-Vento students?
Yes.
So as of this afternoon, we have 1,367 in the district.
1,367.
Yes.
That we're to.
About 258 of them are students,
Origin.
variable a little bit, right, are students that have enrolled in the district from other districts.
So there's about 1,000 students that are not part of our student of origin. However, we're still paying for their transportation.
Well,
We're splitting.
And now we are school of origin because they have enrolled here for those students. There are some students who parents choose to come because of the distance, because they have to. The rule is about an hour is a kind of the limit. It's a hard rule for students that are have special education needs. They can't be transported over an hour. For other students, it becomes, are we talking 2 weeks at a shelter? Are we talking 6 months at a shelter? And sometimes the decisions are made around that. What's the purpose of the shelter? Is it a domestic violence shelter and the parent's looking for just a short-term stay to get safe and then move on? Or is it a long-term shelter?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I think the staggering number here is, not
Yes.
just the millions of dollars that we're spending on it.
Yes.
Now that there's 1,350
Yeah.
McKinney-Vento students, only 250 of them are from the origin. Are our McKinney-Vento people able to visit all of those 1,300 students?
Generally speaking, they try. They definitely do when coming into the district. And then it's a lot of case management during the course of the year. So you have 2 full-time people and then 2 part-time. One is they're both on the grant. One is on a grant that's ending September 30th. So we'll be down to 1 part-time, 2 full-time.
And might some of these people be considering themselves homeless, even though they may be living with a family member?
So you can be considered doubled up. They have to verify why they've ended up in that situation. Did they opt to live with a family member, which is a different response and reason than don't have another place to go and are now doubled up? That's part of that assessment and intake that the McKinney-Vento department does with everybody.
And if they are living with a family member.
Yep.
And they want to go to school in Dorchester, we're still obligated to
Transport them back.
transport them to Dorchester.
Yes, assuming they meet the criteria for McKinney-Vento.
And
yes.
do we check to see if they've been with that family member for longer than 6 months? Or
The
something like that?
McKinney-Vento team actually tracks them multiple times over the course of the year,
And
which
if
is
they're
why
there-
those letters at the end of the year happen to notify families when they know, the families know those letters are coming. It's not a surprise because they've communicated about getting updated residency information on them, proof of address, and it tells us whether or not they're considered McKinney-Vento.
Sure.
going into the next year.
And if they're there for over a year, they're still considered homeless, and
Yes.
they're still obligated to go ahead and pay for their travel expense. And we talked to them about possibly coming to Lowell Public Schools?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they're, particularly the ones that are very far, it's challenging for kids to be connected to, like if we're transporting a student back to somewhere that's an hour away, or vice versa, it's hard for them to be connected to the school, the sports, whatever it might be. So they, they do talk about the downsides. We just have to be thoughtful about who we would have enroll locally, because there's some other fiscal pieces to it that we could be responsible for longer term if we become the school of origin.
Sure. And is there a way, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of intangibles here.
Yep.
Is there a way if we maybe hired a, investigator or something to sort of try to monitor these students to see, if they're really living in that place and it doesn't seem like it's homeless over there, would that be beneficial to us? Because again, this is costing us at least $1 million a year. And I'm not sure if an investigator could be helpful to us.
Well, our McKinney-Vento team repeatedly gets proof of address. So, for example, a shelter will give a letter identifying that those individuals are living there. Campground counts as a McKinney-Vento site. So if you're residing in a campground and you were a Lowell resident potentially, that's considered also a McKinney-Vento site. If you're living at a hotel as a result of the overflow of shelter or through the Department of Assistance, that would be considered. We get an invoice from the hotel potentially to show that they're there.
Sure.
Yep.
And I understand all of that.
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking about the people that are doubled up, right? Some people
Yeah.
from whatever, the Arabic community, because I'm Arabic, will say, hey, yeah, sure, come on over and live in my house for an extended period of time. I think maybe those ones might be the ones that maybe we could sort of really focus on, because they could be there for, a longer period, a longer extended stay
Yep.
than like a hotel or a shelter or, the other, things that you've described.
Yep.
Because, again, these costs are very,
Yeah.
over the top, and it's proving to be sort of choking the school district, especially when you're considering layoffs and what we have to deal with next year and such like that. So, I'm not sure if we could consider an investigator, but it's just something that I wanted to throw out there. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to the superintendent. Just when we're talking about the traveling time, depending on the time of the day, I mean, it can take us a half an hour or longer to go from one side of the city to the other side of the city, especially when we're talking at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, when you're traveling going into Boston, I mean, we've all done that. And it takes quite a while to get back and forth, especially in the busy times on this. And, as a parent, I don't think I'd want my son or my daughter on the bus for, a couple hours, 2 hours or whatever in the course of the day. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of downtime. That's number one. And I'm saying to myself, well, what can we do to entice these parents to be in the Lowell Public Schools? Because obviously we have a lot of positive things going on. We just saw a number of great teachers with many, many years of dedication. And I certainly think that, as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen it firsthand, obviously, I would match our teachers up with anybody. And what are we actually saying to those parents to try to entice them to stay here in our schools, which would obviously save a tremendous amount of money going forward?
So, Mr. Conway, I agree with each of the sentiments that you've made. As far as the travel time goes, it's extraordinary, the amount of time students spend on the bus. It seems that one of the factors involved is that sometimes families who are homeless are hopeful of finding more permanent housing, and so they think that their child is only going to have to commute to Boston School for a short period of time, and they want their child to remain in some school that they have been in Boston just to tie them over for some few weeks until they get a permanent spot, and that's the thinking. So they're not, but also according to what Ms. Brown-LeGrand was telling us, that if we're successful in convincing them to go to Lowell Public Schools, we do save that transportation dollar immediately. But we may incur greater costs longer term. If that family remains homeless and moves to another community, we will now be the school of origin for that child longer term, and it will cost us even more. It's a complex problem. I have to tell you that I think that the working of it is down to at least the state level, if not the federal level, and we are appealing to our delegation and to others to help with that. It definitely needs examination. My instinct is that a Lowell Public Schools investigator is not warranted, because we have people, if we encountered any fraud, we would then know to look for more. It really isn't about that. It's about people who are in very difficult circumstances and are doubled up or are homeless, and we need to appeal to the state to work out a better system for where these kids attend school instead of busing them all over the place.
Yeah, I can appreciate how complicated this situation is, but I also think that it is important that periodically we do discuss this to see if we can come up with some kind of answer.
Agreed.
That can spark success here on both sides of the fence, where we can help that student, but yet we can still save some money on the other end too.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So, anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate the answers, and I'm sure that we'll be discussing it further. And hopefully we can come up with some creative ways of handling it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Mr. Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize that my question is not going to be directly in regards to the permission to enter, but just to piggyback off Mr. Bahu's questions, and I have similar concern with Mr. Conway that going back and forth from here to Boston per se takes a long time. And how do we compensate the time miss? Are the students going to be late every day? Or are they going to have to leave early during the school day so they can be here before dark? So I'm just wondering how was that being handled? Thank you.
I think, as you alluded to and as you surmised, the child has to leave Lowell at a sufficiently early time of the morning to make it to school in Boston on time.
All set, Mr. Lay? Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Lay,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Bahu,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi,
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 6 memorials, moment of silence for Timothy Joseph Keene, son of Catherine Keene, retired principal and attendance monitor. Andrea Van Thiel, mother of Lisa Van Thiel, early childhood coordinator. Please dim the lights. Seven motions, 7.1, motion by Ms. Del Rossi, requests the superintendent to report on the procedures in place to alert schools to put flags at half-staff as ordered by the governor. Ms. Del Rossi,
Motion just speaks for itself. Thank you.
seconded by Mr. Lay. Roll call.
Mr. Lay,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Bahu,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Del Rossi,
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 7.2, motion by Mr. Bahu to have the proper departments work conjunctively this summer to call and reach out to parents or caretakers to ask how their homeschooling is going for their students and to inform them of all the good news and benefits, as well as support systems in place to consider resending their students back to the Lowell Public Schools. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Conway. There are some registered speakers first, Mr. Bahu.
So if I could just ask one thing?
Yep.
If we could take 10.4 out of order, it seems like it matches up with this motion very well. It's about the policy for the homeschool. So if we could maybe
Motion to
take that
suspend.
right after this motion. that would
Motion
be
to
great.
suspend the rules and take 10.4 out of order at the same time by Mr. Bahu, seconded by Mr. Conway. All in favor? Oh, I need a roll call to do that. Roll call.
Mr. Lay,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Miss McFadden,
Yes.
Mr. Bahu,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mayor Getchia.
Yes.
7 yeas.
7.2, motion by Mr. Bahu to refer it, we already read that piece. We're going to go into 10.4, proposed homeschooling policy. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. McFadden, seconded by Mr. Lay. We have some registered speakers on both, so 7.2. Sean?
Elizabeth Tott, that's for 10.4. Please just be cognizant you have a 3-minute time limit.
I timed myself.
Thank you.
Goodness. Good evening, members of the school committee. My name is Elizabeth Ty. This is my husband, Robert. We live at 31 Carly Way here in Lowell. And thank you for allowing me to speak this evening on the proposed changes. My husband and I have been homeschooling in Lowell for 19 years. We have 5 children. 3 have graduated our homeschool, 2 have gone on to graduate from UMass Lowell and Amherst, and 1 more will graduate spring 2027 from UMass Lowell. We have another child who will graduate our homeschool next May, and our last child will be in 7th grade this fall. Homeschooling has been a blessing to our family. It has allowed us to tailor our children's educations to their needs, interests, and abilities. We were able to advance quickly with some and slow down for others. And that is the beauty of homeschooling, its adaptability. I appreciate the district's efforts to create a clear process for homeschooling, but I hope the committee will take more time to consider the impact that these proposed changes will have on homeschooling families. Keeping a child in public school while they await an approval or restricting when a family can submit their homeschool plan for approval only serves to keep a student in an environment that isn't working for them. No one comes to the decision to homeschool easily. It is a huge undertaking, and as a parent that has done it for 19 years and counting, I take the responsibility to educate my children very seriously. If a child is being pulled out mid-year, there are reasons for that decision. Current Massachusetts law allows families to create a plan for education that best serves their students' needs. Instruction must cover reading, writing, spelling, English grammar, geography, arithmetic, drawing, music, U.S. history, and Constitution, duties of citizenship, help, physical education, and good behavior. Treating a homeschool plan like a traditional public school model forces a rigid one-size-fits-all schedule on them. It fails to leverage homeschooling's greatest strengths, personalized learning pacing, tailored instruction, and the flexibility to allow students to dive deeper into subjects that have captured their interest, without the worry that they have to rush along through a curriculum. Requiring homeschool families to register with the Family Resource Center just adds another layer to the process and is not required under current Massachusetts homeschooling laws. As a homeschooling parent, I want to ensure that Lowell's policies reflect what Massachusetts law actually requires. These proposed changes do not help our homeschooling students, and I respectfully ask that you reject them and leave our current policies in place. Thank you.
Sean Cooper for 7.2.
Thank you. Is this my opportunity to speak on both? I registered to speak for both.
You're registered for 9.2 as well?
Yes,
Yeah, no, we're not there yet.
just one or the other. Okay,
Yeah.
just the first one. Thank you.
If there's some way you can add it into that, but if not, you can wait for 9.2.
Thank you very much for the
Yep.
clarity. Sean Cooper, 255 Hildreth Street. Thank you, esteemed members of the school committee, for this opportunity to speak. My wife and I have been homeschooling in the city of Lowell for the past 10 years, and it's been very successful for our 3 children up to this point. We appreciate the current Lowell policy on homeschooling. We feel it's been very clear and very helpful to ourselves. I feel that this proposal to call homeschool families to inquire how their homeschooling is going is unnecessary. There's no such policy in place, I believe, for families who send their children to private schools, so there's no reason to do it with homeschoolers either. I fear that it will potentially be seen, unfortunately, even though it's a proposal that comes from a good place and a good heart, I'm concerned that it might be seen as a type of intimidation or coercion to force homeschool families back into the school district, making a decision based out of fear rather than out of what is best for their student. The good news and benefits of the Lowell Public Schools, I feel, could be spread through other means, such as email, public information campaigns, and the like. And this way, families can make the decisions that is best for their students. So that said, I feel it also places an undue burden upon an already very busy school staff members. They already have so many things to do within the course of the school year, and taking the time to call every single homeschool family to have this conversation, I feel, will be undue stress on them as well as the parents as well. It also provides an opportunity for, unfortunately, something, even though it comes from a good intention, to be misconstrued or misheard or misperceived by the homeschool parent, making them fearful, as I said before, which could open to litigation or conflict with the school district, which is not something any homeschool family wants to be in with the school district. Obviously, homeschoolers, like I said, in the policy, are able to utilize some of the extracurricular activities that the school district provides, and that's a benefit we'd like to retain. So that said, I feel that this proposal is unnecessary and should be rejected, and the current policy to stand as it is. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Gisher, Superintendent Skinner, members of the school committee, and ultimate attending tonight's meeting, including my fellow homeschooling parents. My name is Diana Capaldo, 64 Wedgmere Drive in Lowell, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 5 children. I've been homeschooling here in Lowell for the past 12 years, and I'm graduating our oldest in a number of weeks. My family has been blessed to pursue home education in this city, state, and country. I'm here to ask the committee to reconsider proposed changes to the current homeschool policy. There are several revisions that seem to conflict with current homeschool case law, namely care and protection of Charles. First, the proposed policy states that homeschooling process will be initiated with registration with Lowell Public Schools via the Family Resource Center. Neither Massachusetts general laws nor Charles identifies registration with a particular district as part of the homeschool approval process. Second, the proposed policy also adds a requirement for the education plan to include a home teaching schedule. The law places no restrictions or standards as to when parents begin and end their school year. There's also no requirement in the case law to indicate any sort of schedule beyond total hours of instruction and perhaps the length of the homeschool year. One of the many benefits of homeschooling is the flexibility it allows for. I can tell you from experience that no 2 homeschool days are alike in our home. Third, the proposed policy adds a requirement that the education plan demonstrate alignment with Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. Homeschoolers are not required to replicate what is taught in public schools. Districts are free to review subjects to be taught, but in its Charles decision, the Supreme Judicial Court made clear that districts may not dictate the manner in which subjects will be taught. My husband and I have chosen to homeschool for many reasons, one of which is being able to choose the materials and methods we feel are best for educating our children. Finally, the proposed policy states that education plans will be reviewed in August, September, and November. The Charles decision does not specify any deadlines for submitting education plans. This update will hinder parents from withdrawing their children from public school mid-year if they choose to do so. I'm asking you to, again, reconsider these proposed changes and reject them. Continue with your current homeschool policy. And I wanted to thank you for your time, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on this matter.
Erin Parada.
Hi, so I prepared remarks for both 7.2 and 10.4, and they're slightly different, so I should just continue from one to the other? Okay. Hello, my name is Erin Parada. I live at 112 Butman Road. I am the parent of 2 Lowell Public School students and 1 homeschooled student. So I am here to respectfully ask committee members to vote no on Mr. Bahu's motion 7.2. I appreciate Mr. Bahu's passion for Lowell Public Schools and actually all of the committee members in the administration. But I do not feel this motion is a good use of the district's limited resources, especially after listening to the harrowing budget discussions that went on recently and hearing repeatedly that the central office was taking a big hit. At first glance, calling homeschool parents and talking about what Lowell has to offer and their experience sounds reasonable, but I'd like to explore this a little bit further. There are 151 homeschool families representing 250 children in Lowell. If we assume a 15-minute phone call, because we're talking about both their homeschooling experience and offering of the district's offering, the total estimated time would be 38 FTE hours, or 1 full week of a staff member's time. And I just, given the central office is already short-staffed due to budgetary decisions, I'm left wondering whether those 38 FTE hours could be better spent supporting the 14,000 Lowell Public School students already enrolled, or the district's 1,100 teachers, especially since this motion is redundant with the formal processes already in place to monitor homeschools, and many schoolers were previously enrolled in Lowell Public Schools, so they're very familiar with the offerings. And as a Lowell Public School parent, I would appreciate if we do add that staff time, I would love to have a call from the central office. And I think many parents would love to hear directly from the central office to give their experience. So I asked the committee to vote no on motion 7.2 because I really just don't think it's an effective use of our limited resources, but encourage you to continue to focusing on the great work being done to improve the outcomes of the existing students. And so to continue on for 10.4, I'm here to express my concerns about the district's proposed changes to homeschool policy. I'm not a lawyer, but I have read the case law, and it appears that several aspects of the new policy go against the standards set through the Care and Protection of Charles, the primary decision regarding home education in Massachusetts. The Charles decision provides clear guidelines that balance the right of parents to direct the education of their children with the interest of the state in assuring children receive an education. It establishes that approval from the school committee is required prior to the start of homeschooling and provides guidelines for the types of information school committees can request. However, it also makes clear that any request made beyond those requirements must be essential to approval, and delaying the approval of an education plan cannot be used to keep children in public school. The law is clear that homeschoolers do not have to match what public schools are doing, and they do not have to follow the state curriculum frameworks. The law places no restrictions on when in the school year parents can begin homeschooling, nor does it require homeschooled children to be registered as our public school students. Additionally, the Brunel case found that formal schedule is not an important consideration in homeschooling where, quote, the perception and use of time are different, unquote. Therefore, the proposed policy changes requiring families to register with the Family Resource Center, provide a home teaching schedule, and align with the Massachusetts curriculum framework, and the limitation of the review of applications to August, September, and November all go against established case law. So given that these proposed policy changes violate this established case law, I respectfully ask that you reject the proposed homeschooling policy. And I think all of our goals here today is just to ensure that the homeschool policy supports students and families and enables the school committee to meet its obligations while remaining fully compliant with the Massachusetts law. So, and I would say I welcome the opportunity to discuss these concerns further and to collaborate on a policy, as I think any of the speakers would. So, thank you.
Sheila Guevara.
Good evening to all members. I'll be speaking on 7.2 and 10.4. So thank you for everyone for sharing. So I'll be brief since it's been mentioned a lot of what I wanted to say as well. I'm a parent currently homeschooling Sheila Guevara at 175 Moody Street here in Lowell. Currently, one of my children attend Lowell Public Schools, and one of them is homeschooled by me for this past year and a half. He was previously in a CSA classroom. And basically, in regards to motion 7.2, if it were to be approved that these outreach calls would be made to families, I guess I would like to make the suggestion that, data is collected in regards to the parent's decision to homeschool. Many families have made the decision based to various experiences within the district where they felt their children were either unsafe or not supported properly. And so I think a proactive approach to address the root cause of those experiences might provide that reinsurance in considering re-enrollment for many families. In regards to motion 10.4, again, those events that cause concern for parents to homeschool can happen at any point throughout the school year and should not be limited to the 3 months that was suggested. Parents have the right to remove their children immediately from any environment that is not supportive or beneficial to their child's well-being and education, and there should be no delay in their decision to protect their children. In terms of the curriculum and materials and the detailed schedule, as many have mentioned already, no same-day homeschooling looks the same. And so I think with the current plan that is in place already, it's something that helps us parents provide sort of the idea and what we have prepared for the year. The only confirmation of schedule is, to be totaled of the 900 hours. And many of us do homeschooling year round. We don't stop for the summer. And then something that I wanted to quote from the Somerville policy that wanted to mirror this, these updates. I said, home education is a right protected by the 14th Amendment. The object of the statute is that all children shall be educated, not that they shall be educated in any particular way. More personally, with my child being on the spectrum, there are definitely many things that had to be taken into consideration and many different approaches to make sure that they understand the materials. I urge you to reconsider these changes to the current policy and to continue respecting the rights of families and individualized education for many of our children. We're all on the same team for the best interest of all students and children to have equal access to education, whether that is within a school or homeschool. Thank you.
That concludes the speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Bahu.
Sure. I want to thank the speakers for enlightening me to their daily activities. This motion did not come easy for me. Just to let you know, I respect each and every one of you. I believe that you're homeschooling your children because it's the right thing to do. One of the most difficult things that we can do as parents is raise our children. I have 4. Did I ever consider homeschooling with my wife? Yes, I did. Did I do it for a long period of time? Did I homeschool? I did not. But was it a consideration? It was a consideration for as much as 5 to 6 months. We chose to send our children to school, and it worked out for us. But I understand the passion that you have for all of your children. I think, where this motion stems from, ultimately, is that, we had 182 homeschooled children as of December 31st. And by the time that March 13 rolled around, we kept accepting homeschool requests. It ballooned to 211. So it increased by 29 students. And it seemed like, it might have been sort of done out of haste. I'm not sure that it was. I hear each and every one of you, and I understand ultimately that, this is your child, and you want to raise them correctly. And you want to raise them in a space that you believe is safe, and in a space that you can go ahead and educate them in a way that's going to be most beneficial to their lives. As far as this motion goes, it's simply to go ahead and call parents to see how it's working out for them, to see how the homeschooling is working for them, especially, and I want to call the parents from the most recent homeschool request backwards towards, who was, put in the request way back in July of the previous year. So this motion did not have any intent to try to intimidate people, because this is not anything that this school committee member wants to do, or this school committee wants to do, or this administration wants to do. We really want to go ahead and benefit students to the best of their ability. As much as this is drawing so much attention, I think it's something that maybe we should explore, simply because it could go ahead and inform the school district on why people want to homeschool their children. And I'm sure they've been heard before. And, and are there some type of supports that the parents that are homeschooling parents offer to the school district, so that we understand a little bit more? Because really, we don't know if you're putting in your application until the application is actually filed. So as far as, this motion goes, I think it is more of also trying to understand what's happening, as well as to share the information of homeschool parents that might be having a difficult time with that choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Bahu. Ms. Martin.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to speak to both the motion and the report as well. As far as the motion goes, I do think that, in the environment we find ourselves in right now, I would agree that now would not be the time to be, kind of allocating staff towards this effort. I hear what our speakers are saying in terms of there could be an unintended intimidation response to this. I can understand that, and I think that's a valid concern. And I think, just the mere fact that we had, obviously a number of homeschooling parents who felt that way should help inform our decision. From people who are literally doing this every day. So I certainly respect that they took the time and effort to come down and share that concern. So while I absolutely recognize the positive intention of the maker of the motion, I will be voting against that aspect of it. In terms of the policy changes, I do think that there is some room in this where we could find, dare I say, a positive compromise. I'm not sure exactly what is involved in the registration process for a homeschooler, to be honest, but I know that there is certainly some information that parents are already required to provide to the district, I'm sure via the Family Information Center. Otherwise, we would never be able to vote on the each name as it comes through. So I don't know what in this policy makes that a more onerous endeavor or process. So I do think that we would benefit from having a better understanding of exactly what is so, again, challenging about that. In terms of the schedule and having to provide a day-to-day, a week-to-week schedule, I completely understand that really does fly in the face of what homeschooling is meant to do and meant to be. So I would certainly agree with that. I think that there is, and this kind of ties in with the time frame of only having certain windows open when parents can apply for this. Because I do think that what would, in my mind, would make the most sense is, providing an opportunity when people begin the process in a year. At the beginning of maybe, the bulk of them are starting at the beginning of the school year, but there could be other situations that come up over the course of the year, that at that initial establishment of the homeschooling, kind of request or request for approval, that's the point when the, any schedules or curriculum guidelines, that would all have to be provided at that point. I mean, I think it's a of the moment kind of thing. So if someone is applying for this in January, they have the same requirements for somebody who applied in, at the beginning of the school year in September, but that they still have an opportunity to make that application mid-year. And I think that would kind of allow us to, get my understanding is it's kind of cursory information just so we have the basics to understand exactly what's going to be kind of making up this homeschooling experience for students, but that it could be provided at any starting point based on family need and family decision making. I think, citing the law is very helpful, but I do also think that districts do have some flexibility within that to ensure that we have just the information we need. And so we can be positive supports for students who are taking advantage of this kind of opportunity, I guess. And that we can be of support to families, whether they're homeschooling or in a traditional school environment. Our responsibility extends overall. So I would offer those as, some requests for some additional information around exactly the registration process and content, as well as asking the administration to consider, is there a way that we could lift the moratorium on the September, the August, September, November required windows, and expand that so that families would have more flexibility should they choose to avail themselves of this option. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Ms. McFadden.
First of all, I want to always thank Fred for being, or Mr. Bahu for his enthusiasm when it comes to Lowell Public Schools. You are, I think, one of the biggest cheerleaders for our school system. But I'm going to respectfully vote no on the motion based on feedback that I've been getting all week from homeschool families, including directing staff to contact families is not the best use of time. It's not appropriate if families have already chosen homeschooling, and district resources should remain focused on serving currently enrolled students. And I really liked the feedback from one of our speakers about, I'd love to hear from central office perhaps as a parent with kids in the school system. In terms of the policy, I just feel like I don't have enough information. I read through all the emails, I read through the laws that were cited, and I'm wondering what caused us to want to put these new requirements in, and is it to legally satisfy something, or is it because it's administrative preferences? I just don't feel like I have enough information based on all the feedback that we heard to feel comfortable with approving a policy.
Does anybody have any other questions? Mr. Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that I tend to agree with the speakers that I think the family who are here tonight, they most likely have done a good job in terms of homeschooling their children. But I also want to say that I've heard Mr. Bahu, our astute school committee member here, talking about this issue before, and I don't think he had any intention to intimidate anybody. And I also agree with Mr. Bahu that having this to check up with everybody once in a while is a good idea. You're not signing off and then see you later, we don't hear from you again. So having a two-way communication, keeping each other informed, I feel that this motion is probably more beneficial to the parents than what we have right now. So if the result is going to be intimidating the students and taking so much time out of the staff and bothering the parents from doing a good job teaching their students, their children at home, then I would definitely not going to continue supporting this motion. But at this point, I want to see the good side of Mr. Bahu's intention, and I'm going to vote to support Mr. Bahu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. Mr. Bahu.
As far as 10-4 goes, it was ultimately a response to a motion that I had back in October. And ultimately, I got a motion response from the Director of Curriculum, and she shared, she shared all the news about homeschooling, and ultimately, I pressed to go ahead and have a policy in place so that students wouldn't be ultimately putting in, parents wouldn't be ultimately putting in the request after January, because I just felt like they were being sort of pushed by their students. But, after listening to all of this conversation, I understand wholeheartedly that this works the way that it does. And so I'm, willing to either send this to a policy subcommittee or send it to a policy subcommittee, or just go ahead and have it rewritten to see if we want to go ahead and vote on it in next month. But ultimately, the way that I'm hearing it from the voice of all the homeschool parents, maybe that doesn't even need to take place. We can just leave everything as is. And, we can vote on this motion unless, the mayor allows me to withdraw the motion.
You certainly can withdraw the motion.
Okay.
As long as your second withdraws it. But before you do, if it would be okay to just say a few words.
Sure.
Thank you. I think that as you had stated, Mr. Barhu, when you spoke, that your family thought about it for 6 months. And I think that's the same thing with any family who does that, and anybody who would put their child through homeschooling and they believe in their education, and I don't think that that's wrong at all. I think when you read this motion, it reads more of a marketing tool than it does for the Lowell public school system than it does for families who are homeschooling their children. It's let's promote the Lowell public schools, but not ask on the backside, what can we do to help you be a better homeschool person? And I think that that's where the divide is that we're asking to promote the Lowell public school system when we don't know their system as well as it goes. So I would also not vote for this. I think that parents who make those decisions make decisions that are in the best interest of their children. And there's many things that parents do that we all can agree to disagree or we all agree with. But at the end of the day, that's their right as a parent. And there are laws in place that support that right. And we need to define something that supports their homeschooling and make sure that the children are getting the proper education. And if the families feel that way and they're putting people through it, you heard UMass Lowell and this school and that school, I guess the proof's in the pudding. So I wouldn't support it, but Mr. Bahu would like to withdraw his motion if it's okay with you. Mr. Lay, you were the second.
I'm okay with that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
So 7.2, motion by Mr. Bahu has been withdrawn, so 10.4 will have to be voted. We did. We just took it as a report of progress, so so neither one of them have done anything, so. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Eight subcommittees. 8.1, approval of the minutes of the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee meeting of May 28, 2026. Ms. Martin, you the chairperson. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. McFadden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. McMahon.
Okay. Thank you very much. As you mentioned, the subcommittee did meet on May 28th. Present were myself, Mr. Bahu, and Ms. Del Rossi, and then we had from the central office both Dr. Fox Roy as well as Ms. Crocker Roberge. This really was it was a combination of 3 motions that had come up at prior meetings: strategic plan initiative updates, requesting that the superintendent update the school committee on the implementation of the new reading program, as well as the key performance indicator report. We really had combined those 3 things because they really all referenced the implementation of the new literacy curriculum that was implemented for the first time this year. So it was a good opportunity to bring all 3 of those motions together and address them all in one subcommittee. I think the key thing that we were looking for was to get some feedback both on the way the curriculum kind of was selected by the district, as well as to have a better understanding of what professional development activities and implementation strategies had been put in place to begin the rollout in this the past school year. I think of most value was that we had a number of teachers who took the time to come to this subcommittee, very specifically to talk about their concerns around the curriculum and around the implementation. I myself, and I know my colleagues, found that to be extremely valuable in giving us some additional insights as to how it was rolled out and what we need to do to ensure that we are moving forward in a positive way. I do think that, certainly over the course, it was at a minimum, a 6-month process, the selection process. I know that the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee had multiple meetings during that selection process where we were getting updates on a regular basis about whether it was kind of focus groups, whether it was in classroom observations, other events where teachers were invited to come in and view the curriculum and view the materials, some broad net surveying. So I do think that the administration did make a good faith effort to try to ensure that there were multiple stakeholders involved in this process of winnowing down a number of curriculum systems before they had decided to move forward with this one. But I will always say, even in a perfect world, you can always be better. So I do think that the key for this is going to be how we continue to roll this out in a way that supports teachers and students, so that we are seeing the biggest impact of this really major investment. We have already now committed to this system. We've received significant grant funding to support our implementation. So I am hoping that we will have the opportunity to kind of address the concerns that were brought up by the teachers who came to speak to us. And I know that having heard from others across the district, those concerns are shared. So I think the onus is on us to ensure that we're providing, again, our professional staff with the appropriate professional development, and also providing them with the opportunity to give us feedback as to where they may see maybe it's holes within the curriculum, or areas where we should be shoring up what this curriculum is providing, so that we can make sure that we're not missing anything or missing any of the standards. I don't think you can't buy a packaged curriculum product, plug it into a school, and say you're done. You've accomplished your literacy goals. The reality is that this is one more tool. This is one that will be able to, I hope, provide some additional supports, again, as I say, for teachers, so that they have the information and the training and all the backup supports that they need to be able to implement it effectively. And like anything else, I think having the voice of teachers involved in that process is the greatest insurance policy to making sure that this is not only just well received, but effectively received. So I at the subcommittee meeting, we did have a conversation where we are scheduled the next curriculum and instruction subcommittee. That's happening tomorrow night. It is something that I would once again, we welcome teachers to be here, to come to a subcommittee meeting and speak directly to the committee about their concerns, about, more importantly, maybe their ideas of how we can do this effectively. So that is tomorrow night, I believe at 5:30. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. So I would certainly extend that invitation. But the real focus of this subcommittee is going to be on what supports we can put in place. I made the request that it's, beginning this summer, that we might be able to offer some additional professional development, so that as this rolls out, we can be better assured of the effectiveness of this really, again, very expensive curriculum initiative that we've now committed to. I would certainly welcome my colleagues to share any of their insights I've may have missed from the meeting. But other than that, I would submit that as a report of progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. The subcommittee meeting tomorrow night is at 5 p.m. 5
Thank you
p.m.
very much.
Yes, and it's on the
Bajo.
5th floor at the school administration building, not in this location, just so people can be aware if they're coming.
Want to say that one more time so everyone gets
5th
that?
floor
Thank
of
you,
the
Paul.
school administration building.
Five.
Not sure the exact address. Merrimack Street.
165.
Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. McFadden, seconded by Mr. Lay. Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
7 yeas.
9, report from the superintendent. 9.1, students with autism presentation. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and school committee members, I'd urge you to please pay careful attention to the presentation you're about to receive. Ms. Brown-LeGrand put it together and offered it at the cabinet meeting. I found it to be a really important presentation and very enlightening, and the cabinet members did as well. And we thought that we should share it with you, and I believe that you will find it enlightening as well. Ms. Brown-LeGrand, please.
Thank you. Part of this was done as a result of some of the conversations we had during the budget process, in which, as many of you know, the needs for our students with autism continue to rise. We've opened 2 sites for the 80. We have the Jean Dark coming on line as well. But I think in kind of looking at the picture as a whole for students with autism, it was important to just gather all the information around historical information, where we are currently and kind of where we're looking to go. Alex, would you?
Yep.
Next one. Thank you. I did put some information around just kind of historical data on autism. As you kind of take a look at the amount of children being diagnosed with autism, they used age 8 as the benchmark. Much before age 8, diagnosis can be a little bit fluid to determine kind of what may be happening with the student. By the time age 8 comes, generally, most diagnoses are generally fixed, kind of going forward, particularly for a diagnosis of autism. As early as 25, 26 years ago, was about 1 in 150 students. In Massachusetts, it's actually 1 in 29. It's 1 in 31 nationally. And I mentioned a couple of reasons for that kind of in Massachusetts on the next page. But if you look at that, at one point, we had only 7 classrooms, just speaking to when I was here kind of years ago in the late 1990s. We now have 54 classrooms for students with autism, not counting the 80-day school. So again, a significant rise, but there's some very significant legislation that has impacted the service delivery for students with disabilities, particularly students for autism, that has occurred in Massachusetts over the last kind of 15 to 20 years-ish, if we take a look. Massachusetts has very good health care. They think that might also be a reason for why the rates of autism are a little bit higher in the state of Massachusetts. The Department of Ed has really, once they started to see that a number of students, the climbing of the number of students, they started to make sure that the educational system responded by developing kind of different formats for the IEP. So in 2006, the Autism IEP Act came in, which looked at kind of changes federally as well as in the state regarding how we capture the needs of students as it relates to their IEP and services that are then covered by school districts. So things like ABA services or applied behavioral analysis services were now something school districts were expected to cover. A lot of the ABA, BCBA positions came out of the legislation that school districts as well as insurance companies were expected to cover some of those services. And kind of if you look at some of the others, in 2014, there was a very big legislation in the state of Massachusetts that covered autism kind of across the lifespan, because as those population of students started to get older, they found that the older adult services, the transition services between being up through high school or age 22 when they aged out into the adults was not sufficient. And so it expanded the kinds of services that we're providing to students at the same time that the number of students being diagnosed was also climbing, if you wouldn't mind, Alice. I gave you just a kind of comparison. We know for a fact that the number of students being identified with special education needs has increased significantly since the pandemic nationwide, not just in the state of Massachusetts. But if you look at our numbers going back to even 2006 as like a 20-year example, so to speak, you know, we've gone up about just under 400 students for special education since 2022. We've gone up 900 kind of in the last 20 years, with the enrollment really only changing by under about 100 or so students, so to speak. So the percentage of students, as you can see, is climbing. The complex needs of those students is also climbing. When we look at our prevalence compared to the state, historically, the #1 disability category in most school districts is learning disability, or LD. That is starting to shift, with autism being 2. Historically, it was actually learning disability communication. Autism is starting to come up, and in a lot of districts, Lowell being one of them, autism is now the #1 disability category, meaning 27% of our students with disabilities in the district have autism identified as a primary disability. And I just threw in here RADAR as a resource allocation tool that you can utilize through the Department of Ed to compare districts, just a sampling of the other districts. So if you look at those districts, we have districts like Lawrence and Chicopee that are a little bit more urban. We also have districts like Burlington, Chelmsford, and some others that are a little bit more suburban, also seeing kind of the rise in students with autism and the percentage of kids compared to their whole student population of students with disabilities, is that being significant increase. So, you know, as you know, during the budget process, we added several classrooms. We needed 2 elementary classrooms. We added a middle school classroom. We also added another 80 classroom because we are experiencing not only our own students and students coming up through pre-K into elementary school, the rise of autism, and even in the smaller population is significant. We've also had a significant increase in the number of students that are joining the school district that we can't anticipate being placements for necessarily that have joined the district. And so we needed these spots in order to actually accommodate all the students that we know about. Since then, if you don't mind going to the next one, Alex. We've had, as of when I did this, which again, there was a little bit of delay between the first time we were going to present and when I did it. So since then, we've added actually 13 students to this. So these were students that entered our CSA programming for whom we did not know about. A handful of students are move-ins from outside the district, meaning their parents just relocated, had an IEP for a program for students with autism and required all the services connected to that, and moved into the district. A handful of the students entered from ABA centers, so part of the law that I talked about earlier that funds through the private insurance students with autism being able to access an ABA center or an applied behavioral analysis center. They can do that up through about age 6, age 7, depending on kind of the insurance. At that age, they're coming back to the district. A lot of those students, we didn't even know that they existed. They had never been evaluated by the school department. When I came on board last year, the special education department, together with some of our other student support department heads, have been meeting with the pediatrician's office so that they don't make that referral directly to just an outside ABA center, so that we don't know this child exists come age 3. They're also losing out on the opportunity to potentially access speech and OT and kind of other services, but that they know they should be referring to us. Parents can still access that ABA service, but we want them to come to the school district and be evaluated to determine if there's other needs connected. Then we know to plan for them as they're, if needed, coming into kindergarten or pre-K potentially. And then we had a number of students who enrolled in our schools last year for whom had no IEP, who were students with profound autism, had never been evaluated of any kind, and are entering, generally most of them entered elementary school. We had a student as old as 4th grade enter with profound autism, just moved in, entered into one of our classrooms, no IEP, no supports, nothing. So we're trying to kind of get the information out to parents, certainly, but also to pediatricians' offices. We really need to get to see these kids sooner. Those students were actually students that moved to Lowell. They were not Lowell residents prior. Thank you. This is just a very brief kind of like looking at kind of the cost savings by having the 80. I know you know this, but the out-of-district placement comparison, at one point we could send a student, let's say, to a collaborative, and it would be $60,000, $70,000 a year. Most of the collaboratives are north of, even the ones we're members of, are about $75,000 a year. Most of our students that come from the 80 don't go to a collaborative because we have a public day school. Collaboratives are public day school. They're essentially equal. Occasionally, they do provide other supports that maybe would work. Generally speaking, collaboratives are not accepting our students from the 80 because of level of need. So those students generally are going private placements like the May Center, Melmark, and generally those tuitions are about $160. They range right now with the increase every single year between $155 and about $167, depending on the program and need. And then you have the transportation costs. So without the 80, we would be unfortunately assuming a significant other cost. So the fact that Lowell, I think, has completely devoted, at least in my entire career here, more than 30 years, been committed to in housing our neediest students in district is a testament to something not a lot of districts do. So I think that's been great for cost, but also for students. So thanks, Alex. So just to kind of, this is a snapshot by placement. So if you go all the way to the right, there is a very little sliver of very dark blue, which is out-of-district students. It's actually not even really noticeable in Lowell because we have such a low percentage of students that are actually out of district, not in our day schools, but outside the district. The lighter blue, or the large blue, is our substantially separate program. When you compare us to the state, we have a significant amount of students that are sitting in sub-separate programs. And then we have a lower number of students that are in full inclusion. So when we look at kind of planning forward, this is an area where we can really kind of do some intervention. We need to find a way to allow our students greater access and success and inclusion, and provide them potentially greater support to do that. Our principals and staff are completely committed to doing this. Our numbers in our programs right now are high because while we keep adding programs, we keep getting unanticipated students enter our programs. And again, most of the classrooms are capped at 12 to 14, depending on kind of the ratio, the size of the classroom, kind of those kinds of things. So we continue to fight the battle of, opening classrooms and then having, in this case, this year alone, almost 60 students we didn't anticipate join our CSA classroom programming. So this is one of our kind of goals longer term. Thank you. Just to look at the out-of-district rates going back about 4 years or so, Lowell continues to kind of maintain pretty steady while some of the state numbers have remained consistent, but there's some districts right around us whose out-of-district numbers have gone up significantly. And we've been able to do this, I think, because of our commitment to keeping our kids in district as well as having the amount of day schools across the board that we have to support those students. Thank you. So things I think we're looking at, I thought it would be important to just kind of share the snapshot of where our students are at this point. We have to really move towards, and part of our strategic planning for the next couple of years is going to be looking at our inclusive practices, trying to develop a model that works for everybody, creating a support systems so that teachers have the support when students that have more diverse needs are in the classrooms, that they have a mechanism to access support, training connected with that. The other thing just about kind of the number and the trend, there's not necessarily a plateau, the national data is saying at this point. And so while we're in 1 to 29 children are identified with students with autism, that does not necessarily appear to be slowing down either at the moment, which is, highly concerning for us just as a population, never mind. There's what's going on is the question. But there's going to be a lot of investment on the part of the district, I think, over the next few years to really support all of our students. And the more PD we do around even our more complex populations, the better it will be for everybody across the board. So I can pause if there's any questions or thoughts. I think there's one more, Alex. No, okay.
I got a couple questions, if it's okay. The Jindak property, how many will it take, the full 90 students or the 97 now that there's 7? Will that take all 97? And will there be still will there still be room left for more students?
One of the limitations of our current locations is that there's guidelines in the state about how many square foot per student, and some of those rooms are pretty small. So not only will we have more space, but we'll have the ability to go up in some of our classrooms, which are capped at like 6 students at the moment, because the physical space of the classrooms we have at some of the locations are too small to have more than that with the adults in the classroom. So we should be able to go up. We generally, wouldn't want to go over 10 or 12 in a day school, and there's some complex students in which you would not be able to do that anyway. And then you'll have space in the building as well for additional classrooms. And you have the convent behind it as well.
I guess I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Do we know what that number could be for the St. Jindak?
Off the top of my head.
It depends, right? It depends on the type of student that's going in and everything.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
No?
I would say, Mr. Mayor, that when we first began contemplating the Jeanne d'Arc site, it seemed to us that we could secure all of the students who are currently at the 80 school there, and maybe bring in some students from out of district who would be tuition paying to Lowell. But we believe now that we're going to fill that building. So there are students in some of our regular elementary schools in particular, who might go to the 80 school if there were space there right now. So we anticipate filling it with our students. And if you notice from that first slide that showed the prevalence of autism increasing, we don't know where that's going to stop. So we may need additional space.
And I thank you, Mr. Superintendent, because I remember at the time when we filed that motion on the city council side, you were a driver in this, in working together with the city and trying to get the pieces to work out financially in this school committee. Was very acceptant of this, putting this piece together. And I think looking at these numbers, since we made that decision, 378 up is a lot of students. And I think it was probably one of the wise decisions that we made in facilities in a long time for us. And I'm hoping that we continue to look at these buildings and we try to outfit the way we need and get rid of the ones that we don't need the buildings, and try to really put it together. For us, Ms. Martin, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, the 378 is students with disabilities, not just students with autism.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But that number's the driver. When you start looking at all of it, I'm like, wow. Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to just kind of comment quickly that, I think that the Lowell has been very, I think, ambitious in terms of building our own programming so that we can address the needs of our students in-house and in district. I think we certainly recognize the benefit of the cost savings of running these programs ourselves. I think we also recognize that the benefit of having this kind of expertise and availing ourselves of it, of our own internal teaching staff, is of huge benefit to our students. And it's certainly in line with the kind of providing the least restrictive environment for all of our special ed students, autism and otherwise. To be talking about the strategic goal of moving towards better inclusion, so we can kind of move that indicator, I think is a great idea. I think, again, that's an effort that Lowell really, God, we were at the forefront of that effort, I would say 20, 25 years ago, of kind of really focusing on ensuring that inclusion was a spoken value across our district, recognizing the real benefit it has for both the special ed students and our regular ed students. It really, it's something that I think shows our district's values in a very real world sense, and I applaud that effort. I think moving forward, as we have tracked the increase, particularly of autism, autistic students, it doesn't seem to be slowing down. So our district needs to continue working to be adept and flexible in being able to effectively welcome and educate these students. And I really, getting this kind of a report that really gives us some of the more of a 10,000-foot view, I think is extremely helpful. And I thank the assistant superintendent for sharing it with us, and look forward to tracking as we make these decisions and changes to ensure that we're doing the best we can by these students, which is, of course, what they deserve and what our responsibility entails. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Mr. Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Ms. Through you, Ms. Brown Legrand. I'm wondering, have we have any snapshot of data for students at the age of 8? Do we have anything to compare with whether these students were identified as autism when they were 8 versus later on down the year, were they moving down or up from other district to Lowell because of the service? So I'm just wondering how, why the number of autism has increased. Is it because people here living in Lowell has more autism students, children, or we just population just move around and we got the service for them?
So the first chart that the first page on the slide presentation where it talks about the percentage of students, being 1 in 29 now, is national. It's not Lowell data. And so I think the big question, I think, internationally is what is happening with the rise in autism internationally across the world. They use age 8 because when you're in preschool or just early elementary school, sometimes a student might have a weakness, that child might have a weakness, might look like autism, might be just a developmental delay, could be a speech or communication issue. By the time generally students get to age 8, most disabilities are able to be clarified, autism being one of them, because they can see the pattern over time since the child is really of age to walk and talk, to see whether those hallmarks of autism continue. So your second question, we definitely have parents that have vocalized that they come to Lowell because they know that we have in-district programs and day schools. So that is definitely, I would say, even in other districts that have in-district programs, because not all districts even have sub-separate programs for students with autism, never mind a day school. It is highly sought after that their child is educated in the community in which they live, and we happen to have both. Yeah.
Ms. McFadden.
This was very enlightening. You talked a lot about identifying students and not knowing students were coming into the school system. So you mentioned talking to the pediatricians. What about ABA centers that are sending? So you're obviously in communication with them, and you've probably already done this, but if you haven't, maybe offering some type of resources or seminars to, for parents before their kids enter the school system. But I guess it's more of the marketing campaign and spreading the word, so thank you.
The I did leave that out, actually. The special education department has met with all of the ABA centers that are local, as well as there's some in southern New Hampshire that some of our families attend. And also trying to get the list of potential Lowell residents that are currently attending that we don't necessarily know about. I would say that they're not always necessarily cooperative with that, because there's not a responsibility for them to notify us. So we don't know who we don't know about, but the pediatrician's office has been great. We've done meetings with them, professional development on what's called Child Find, and their responsibility to kind of refer parents to us first.
Excellent. Yeah. And parent network is a huge thing, so just parents talking to each other.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden. Mr. Bahu? You all set? We'll move on to 9.2. 9.2, response to motion by Mr. Bahu regarding proposed changes to the K through 12 school assignment policy. Mr. Bahu?
Ms. Brown LeGrand, I thank you for this report. It's very insightful. I understand the idea of not having to increase school sizes to 105% simply because we would be sort of grabbing from other schools and truthfully not having that balance of students throughout the school system. So I thank you for all this insight and for this report. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. Seeing no other, we'll move on to 9.3, response to motion by Mr. Bahu 4126 regarding district efforts on educating students on marijuana risks. Mr. Bahu.
Thank you, Ms. Foxworth, for this. I appreciate it. Yes, ultimately, the efficacy of marijuana is pretty overwhelming for a household, for a child, for, all players in that space, including, our children that have pre-existing conditions that take medication, effective medication of the way that they sort of, begin to process things that they hear, do, and say that could truthfully be detrimental. So I know we use the Michigan model, we use the 2023 Michigan model. I don't know that it's really updated as well as it should be, simply because of the, the marijuana stores that are on every corner in the state of Massachusetts, unfortunately. But I know that this is a progress in motion. I also appreciate the idea of having community outreach strategists come to our school. I think that can really prove to be beneficial because ultimately, the consumer strategist, I'm sorry, the community outreach strategist coming to our schools. I saw him at the Civics Day. He really had the ear of the students when it came to the discussion of the efficacy of marijuana. And they've seen him at times in our school district. They want to see him more. I know that our school day is filled like there's no tomorrow, but if we could somehow develop a speaking engagement with that community outreach strategist, it could be beneficial, and I'm talking about maybe touching all the schools. I know, 6 through 8, they hear it once, sort of in one ear and out the other. It needs to get to the high school as well, simply because these are the kids that are most affected by what's happening, with all of the marijuana stores that are happening through the state of Massachusetts right now. So thank you so much for this report. I appreciate it. If there's anything you can do to go ahead and keep enhancing this, I would be extremely grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. Seeing no other responses, we'll move on. 9.4, response to motion by Ms. Del Rossi regarding the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for the report, Ms. Crocker-Roberge. 9.5, motion response to Ms. McFadden regarding school site councils. Ms. McFadden.
Thank you for the response. I just had a couple of comments. I really would love to see consistency and uniformity across all the schools, so maybe even putting the deadline for releasing the agenda and the minutes after the meeting, and not just on the website, notifying families when school site council meetings are going to take place. I know that the policy says that it will, this meetings will be set from the first meeting for the whole year, but before the meetings, posting something on an email, text message, social media, flyers, dojo, however the school communicates with families, reminding them that there are meetings and that it's open for all families to attend, and perhaps some education at the beginning of the school year, just in general to all of Lowell Public Schools about the role of school site councils play. I think that's going to be helpful for us going into budgetary discussions next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McFadden. Mr. Bahu.
Sure. This was a great report. Thank you for the motion, Ms. McFadden. I think this really encompasses the whole thing of what school site councils can do and how beneficial they can be. I guess one question I have is, I see that the 4 people sit on school site councils. Is that correct, Ms. Crocker-Roberge? Is it 4 school site council members per school?
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. There are 4 types of members of school site councils. You have the principal, which serves as the co-chair. You have parent representatives and teacher representatives, which need to have equal parity on the school site council. So there may be 4 parents on the school site council and 4 teachers. So whatever the ratio is, and generally the size of the school dictates kind of how big the council is in terms of representation. And then, of course, community members or partners are the 4th sort of bucket of participants. These are also open meetings, so public participation is welcome as well.
Sure. So basically, the STEM and the Stock LOSA have more parents involved because they're larger schools within the district. Same thing at Lowell High School. Great. And as far as, do we post that there is going to be a meeting somewhere where the parents can go ahead and find that information? I didn't see that in this report. Maybe I should have looked a little closer.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. There is a school site council page on every single page of the Lowell Public Schools website. So every individual school has its own page. The Lowell Public Schools website has a dedicated school site council page where you can link to every single one just going from that one district page. So if you go to your student's school, you can find it right in its own marker. And if you go to the district website, you can easily find it. And we've taken steps over the last year to make those icons very easy to find for our public.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. Seeing no one else, we'll move on to 9.6, Personnel Report. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual report. I suppose it follows a little bit from earlier in the meeting when we talked about retirees. Dr. Hall has presented for us a report that delineates what retirements we have and resignations in the district. That report you have in your packet, and we'll be happy to take any questions if you have them.
Mr. Superintendent, I just have one question. Do we send all the retirees a letter thanking them for their service?
Dr. Hall?
Mayor, we plan to do that in the summer. When we get notice of the retirement, I respond to them as well whenever it happens during the year.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. That would just be much appreciated. Thank you. 9.7, food service meal highlights and summer programming updates. Any questions on any of this? Seeing none, I need a motion to accept the reports of the superintendent 9.1 through 9.7 as a report of progress by Mr. Lay, seconded by Mr. Conway. Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 10, new business. 10.1, approval to accept and expend allocated FY 2026 awards. Motion to accept by Ms. McFadden, seconded by Mr. Lay, to approve and expend the allocated FY 26 awards. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Thank you. Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
10.2, 2026-2027 school committee meeting updates. Motion to approve the 2026 school committee meeting dates by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Bahu. Ms.
I actually have
McFadden.
a comment, if I can. We have February 17th on there. I know that historically we've canceled the meeting. I was wondering if we could cancel the meeting now to allow the lovely folks at the Lowell School Department to plan vacations accordingly if they so choose so. And if we have to add a meeting somewhere, we could figure that out.
Motion by Ms.
Live.
McFadden to delete February 17, 2027 from the calendar, seconded by Mr. Conway. Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. Roll call on the original.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
10.3, budget modification request. Motion to approve the budget modification of $1,928,338.99 by Mr. Bahu, seconded by Ms. McFadden. Any questions? Roll call. Mr. Bahu.
I guess I only have one question on page 3 of this report. I'm looking at our day-to-day substitute teachers. It looks like we had an increase of $574,000. I know we allotted $3 million for that cost this year, and I'm curious if there's anything that we know that can be done, maybe speaking to principals to go ahead and have teachers, come to school more so that we are not going over budget by 20% for our substitute teachers.
The point is well taken. Mr. Bahu will be happy to work with principals and encourage that.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
I do think if at budget time we alerted the school committee, I think we would have budgeted a higher amount. If you can believe, in past years we have spent more than double the allocated amount, but we've managed to budget now closer and closer to actuals. And so, although it's maybe over, it's not nearly as much. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a number of years ago, it was like $6 million for a substitute budget. But at any rate, your point is well taken, and we should make every effort we can to reduce the amount on substitute teachers.
Sure. The more consistency the students have in the classroom, the better off it is for the students. And ultimately, the more savings that we have in the classroom is more beneficial for the school district.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas.
11, convention conference request. Motion to bundle and approve the conference convention request by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Lay. Any questions on the conference request? That'd be 11.1 to 11.4. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Ms. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas.
12, professional personnel. 12.1, members of the United Teachers of Lowell hereby donate 23 sick days to the Christina Dixon, a teacher of the McAuliffe Elementary School. In addition, 17 sick days are donated to Maureen Keefe, a paraprofessional at the Maury School, and 20 sick days are donated to Courtney Toombs, a teacher at the STEM Academy. Motion to approve the professional personnel by Ms. McFadden, seconded by Mr. Lay. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
13, executive session. 13.1, an executive session may be called to discuss collective bargaining strategies and/or possible litigation under Open Meeting Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, B, 2, 3 of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts General Laws. Open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of a public body. Motion to recess and enter into executive session for the purpose of negotiating update, consideration of renewal of MOA with the UTL related to Lowell Teachers Academy positions, and negotiate and discussions related to the adjustment of duties in the principal's contract on interim basis, of which open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and to adjourn from executive session by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Bahu. Roll call.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Mayor Getchia?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
Are there any announcements before we go in? Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought it was worthwhile mentioning, last week we celebrated a Lowell Public Schools employee who's been working for us for 50 years. So I'm talking about Roberta Keefe, who is principal of the Moody School in Lowell. I'm very grateful for some of the school committee members who turned up for a special occasion to celebrate Miss Keefe. And unlike the various good people we acknowledged who are retiring, Miss Keefe, after 50 years of service, wants only to give more. She is not retiring. But I do want to acknowledge her. It was a momentous occasion covered by Boston media. Anyone who watches Channel 5 saw a very nice clip that was run of the event, and widely acknowledged that Miss Keefe has given us terrific service. So congratulations to her. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, I want to highlight a serious point that I'm making a connection with that event. It happens that the celebration at the Moody School was on a very hot day, and very many people who were there commented about the unbearable heat in that building. And it strikes me as an opportunity to share with you that that is not terribly unusual for our schools. Of course, most of the school year it's not an issue. At this time of the school year, it happens sometimes, and in September, August and September, it happens sometimes. And we have summer school right through July and some of August without air conditioning in our schools. And while various adults referred to the Moody School last Friday being unbearably hot, we say that, but we make our students and our staff bear it. And they need to be there for the day in that those hot conditions. And lastly, I might point out to you that while we make them bear it and they survive the day before they can go home and take a shower, it doesn't mean that they're learning. At some point when the temperature goes beyond 80 degrees, beyond 90 degrees, it becomes unhealthy. But long before it becomes unhealthy, learning is lost. Students don't learn well in those conditions. The point I'm grandstanding on here is that we need to work with the city for air conditioning in our school buildings, and we need to do it urgently, because it's an effort that will probably take several years to accomplish, but it's an effort that becomes more urgent each year. I just wanted to make that point for the committee. I'll present more information to you more formally at a future point. Thank you.
Last night we had this discussion at the city council meeting, and we asked for a capital plan to be put together, and the manager will be getting back to us on that. But even regardless of that, we need to get rid of the heat islands that are in our schools. We need to start planting trees. And when you look at that Moody School, you got beautiful Ford Hill across the street, all trees. Rogers Hall right next to it, all trees. You look at that property, it's all asphalt. And they cut down the last tree last year. So we need to get rid of some of that asphalt. We need to put retaining walls in and try to make it a nice place again. So we are working to try to get that done. But as the superintendent outlined, it costs money. And if it has a baseboard heat, you can't just throw air conditioning in these old buildings. So we really have to look at it and do a capital plan. So we are working to that. I just wanted to update you on that. So with that, we'll go into executive session. Thank you.
Derek, I never saw the whatever. I think they're on the end. Oh, Danielle has it. Terrific. Let me just do a quick signature here.
Doing marvelous. How about you?
I commented on his haircut.
I didn't get one.
It looks good though, doesn't he? Huh? Looks good.